Hello, this is Mr. Stansbury. I'm going to take you through the notes on the two-sample t-test for comparing population means. Okay, at the end of this, you should be able to say, I can conduct a two-sample t-test given a specific level of significance. Okay, so basically, if we are given the test data for two samples instead of one, like we looked in the previous section, then we conduct what we call a two-sample t-test to compare the two data sets. Okay, so we're just going to get straight into an example with all the good info here, and we're just going to work through one together here. Okay, so for example, two cold remedies from around the world are snail soup from Germany and snail syrup from Germany and lizard soup from Hong Kong. Michael claims that the snail syrup is more effective. Given the following data, construct a two-sample t-test to determine if he is right using a 5% level of significance. Okay, so nicely, again, they spell everything out for us, exactly what to do step by step. So let's start with that. So null hypothesis, in this case, is always going to be that these two they're not different at all. So what we'd want to write on that thing there is that snail syrup and lizard soup are no different in curing the common cold. Okay, so I changed it a little bit. Snail syrup and lizard soup are equally effective curing the common cold. Okay, so then the alternative hypothesis, what Michael claims that snail syrup is more effective. So our H1 is going to be that snail syrup is more effective at curing the common cold than lizard soup. Okay. State the significance level, step 2, that is 5%. So A is 0.05, which is going to be this one right down here. So I'm just going to rewrite this down here really quick. Oops, let's see, yeah, 0.05. You can always copy that down later, but I just knew that it was coming up. So calculate the value of the test statistic T, hard for me to say apparently. That's going to happen on our graphing calculator. Calculate the p-value using this here, also going to be on our graphing calculator. Okay, and then that p-value is going to also go here, the p-value. Okay, so really what we need to do is we need to put this into the graphing calculator and make it make sense. So this is statistics. So we're going to do statistics, and we're going to perform a two-sample t-test. So you go over the test, and we're going to look at there it is, fourth one down, two-sample t-test. So I go down to two-sample t-test, and sometimes they'll give you all the raw data, sometimes they'll give you the statistics. So in this case, they give us the statistics. So we're going to push enter, make sure that one's there, and that it's flashing, and then we go down, make sure that it's still highlighted, and it is. And we're going to just call this one here X1, and then this is going to be X2, just because it's the first one and the second one, right? So our X1 in this case, the mean is 2.13 days, 2.13. And SX1 is the standard deviation, which is 0.41 days. And then the number of, let's see, the N is the number of different tests that were given. And let's see, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I wrote that in there, did I? So let's make that up. Okay, I just made it up here. We're going to just say that snail syrup, we had 23 tests. Lizard soup, we had 28 tests. That should be given in here. I just forgot to write it in there, so I'm just going to pretend that I had written that in there originally. Okay, so our N1, we said that first one was 23, I believe, right? Yep, 23. Oops. Whoa, that's not what we wanted. There we go. 23, that's the number of tests that we perform there, how many pieces of data we have. Lizard soup, our mean is 2.21, and our standard deviation is 0.37. and we're saying that we had 28 data samples on that. Okay, now this next one here is important to pick the correct one here. So what Michael is claiming here is that snail soup does better than lizard soup. What we're looking for really is we want to know, we're showing that x1 has to be greater than x2 in this case, right? So this is what we're trying to prove. So when we look on here, notice that there is no x1, it's actually just the u. So we want the u2 in this case to be on the small side. So we want to go over and we want to choose this one. And I made this mistake before. Make sure you push enter so that that one is then highlighted. Okay. There's a question in here. There's a option in here to say pooled. We are going to always, for everything that we do in this class, it's always going to be pooled. So just go ahead and pick pooled. There's other ways of doing this test with it not being pooled, but for everything that we're going to do in here, we're just going to click on yes. Okay, and then we are going to click calculate, and it's going to give us all this lovely data here. Okay, so our t value is negative 0.732. Negative 0.732. Our p value is 0.766. Okay, and then we're going to plug that in and figure out our conclusion. But before we do that, let's take a quick little comedy break. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Remember, we're going to plug in our p-value down into this inequality here and figure out what we got. So we got 0.766 is our p-value. Is that less than 0.05? No, it's not less than. That is not true. So it says, if this is true, reject HO. So we're going to not reject. Instead, that means that we are going to accept. So if you're not going to reject it, you got to accept. Accept HO, which in this case means snail syrup and lizard soup are equally effective curing the common cold to a 5% level of significance. Okay? Okay? All right. So you always want to make sure that you do step 6, which is interpret your decision. Write your conclusion in a sentence. Super important, especially for those of you that are going to take the IB test. Okay? All right. That's all we have here for the 2 sample t-test. If you have any further questions at all, please feel free to ask. Thanks.